Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the greatest podcast that airs every Wednesday night live on Twitch. It's Hey, Did You See This One? And over to tonight's host, Kaylin. How you doing?
Thank you, my good friend Jason. I'm doing well, thank you. Yourselves?
I'm good. I'm going to do my classic song and dance where I check the levels while you introduce the show.
I didn't know we were the greatest. That's very complimentary to us. And also maybe a little bit of pressure.
Any big any notable events in your guys' week you'd like to share with the viewers?
I drew a comic book cover.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For what?
I can't say yet.
Oh, true. What's that called? What's that called when you can't say?
Non-disclosure.
Confidentiality?
I mean, confidentiality is sort of the same thing.
What did you say?
Non-disclosure.
Non-disclosure, that's the problem.
It's not under an NDA. I just don't want to tell you.
And yourself, Jason, anything notable this week for you? Or this past week, whatever?
I today was very tired but did a lot of work. And that's the I went to my dad's this weekend. We Saturday night there was this like rock band that was playing like hilarious classic rock covers, and we drank lots and we smoked a lot of weed.
What's your drink of choice?
I mean, beer. You know, I drink the beer skis. My dad, his wife makes these things they call chocolate milk, but they're basically just White Russians.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. No, yeah. Chocolate Russians.
Yeah, it's like a chocolate Russian story. So it's like they have this stuff called Bolivar. That's like a Kahlua, basically. And Steve's like, I don't care. Let's get to the movie.
Well, you guys don't care, but I
was picking something up off the floor.
Is I got 1,000 dives and 1,000 grabs. It was annoying as fuck. I finally got it.
In what?
Yeah, I know. You gave us the play-by-play every day. You're like, so here's what I did in Fall Guys today for 4 hours, guys.
So let me put some things in before we get into this. I do want to talk about.
Oh yeah, did you get your sound levels? Are you good with the sound?
Yeah, we're good. Sounds fine.
See, that's why I had to do that, because he was doing the sound level.
I want to talk about your Fall Guys thing for a second, because sometimes I'll put 100 hours into a game in a short period of time. But those 100-hour games will be like, you know, very long role-playing games or very long open world games like Horizon Zero Dawn.
How many of those hours are cutscenes, though?
Like hardly any. My man Kaylin here gets the freest game on the web right now. Goes ahead and just gets all the achievements for Fall Guys. It's insane. How it's
you
like,
get
I get it
though.
though.
PS5, on the new PS5, a game that wasn't even made for. It was an earlier generation game.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. You didn't have the whole PS4 era. You basically skipped a whole gen.
It's also a very addictive game. Like it's quite fun, and I understand it because I've spent a few nights of like 3 to 4 hours just playing the same levels over and over again.
You get lost in it, yeah.
And if you're playing with friends, it's really fun.
Even better.
There's two sides of it, though.
Like message you guys. Like,
in my opinion, there's two sides to what I'm saying, though. It's like on the one hand, I do get it. You haven't really played a lot of video games, so you're kind of latching on and going through games one at a time. But if I had skipped a whole console generation, I'll tell you right now, I would not be playing an online party game. I would be
Jason, you also play video games like a twisted pervert, like you have a spreadsheet of like games you've
I don't have a spreadsheet, but
it's in your brain.
I'm
they're also documented on your page.
I'm one more pandemic away from having a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Next time I'm ready. Next time.
I think that Kaylin just really likes the game. I don't think that he's trying to 100% Fall Guys because it's not really that kind of game. Well, it's like seasons, right? Every week there's new things you can do. So it's like he'll have a new thing to do forever.
The 100 grabs and the 100 hugs or whatever. That shit.
Yeah, that's
it was annoying. Like I just thought it was like kind of like so. Anyway, you know what? We're not here for that. We're not here for that.
Yeah, the
Sorry,
Fritz is here, and he wants us to talk about
the Gorgonites.
The Gorgonites.
Oh,
so yeah, Kalen, sorry. Let's get into the show, buddy. You're the
these
host.
guys back here. Today's episode, all of our lovely viewers out there is.
You should say greetings.
Soldiers.
I am Kalen, emissary of the Gorgonites.
I should have done that. Damn it.
Yeah.
That was a good one. We should really plan these sometimes. Get some. Can we get some writers? Can we get a writer's room?
If we get 10 viewers concurrently for an episode, I'll write something other than my notes.
But yeah.
Go ahead, Caitlin. Introduce the
Small
episode.
soldiers, the Commando Elite versus the Gorgonite, said to be scum by the Commandos, but found out to be actually the peaceful and good guys or whatever. And let's see, who do we have? Steven, could you do me the honor of kicking us off with how your memory of first time watching this movie?
I thought you were going to be like, which small soldier are you?
Let's change all the small soldiers.
We can save that. We'll save that. What's it called? Save that for later.
We'll toyetify ourselves or whatever.
Yeah.
Become the action figure.
The segment.
I saw this movie in theaters. This movie was super marketed towards little boys when it came out. And being a little boy at the time, I was very susceptible to it. But I remember being super into the Commando Elite because that was the focus. Can you just shut up and let me finish?
My bad.
I remember being super into the Commando Elite from the marketing because the marketing doesn't show the Gorgonites at all. If you look at all the trailers for the movies and like any of the commercials, which I went through briefly a little bit of it, they don't market the Gorgonites at all. And then I went into the movie and David Cross is like, these are the Gorgonites. They are, they're monsters who live among a peaceful valley. And I was like, whoa, I like these guys maybe more. And then they showed up and they were the good guys. And Frank Langella was the voice of Archer. And I was like, ooh, I like this deep voice. And I when I came out the other end of the movie watching experience, I didn't give a shit about the Commando Elites, and I thought they were all stupid idiots because they are, and they all die in dumb ways. Whereas the Gorgonites, I loved. So, needless to say, that Christmas, I didn't get a Chip Hazard under the tree. I got a Archer, emissary of the Gorgonites under the tree, and was very happy.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the first time I saw it, and I did get it on VHS. I don't know if I got it for Christmas that year, but I got it shortly after the movie came out and rewatched it like a whole shitload of times, and then didn't watch it again for probably about 15 to 20 years maybe of my life.
Word.
That's it. Yeah.
And then you watched it again today and it felt like you fell in love again all over.
I was worried that I was gonna hate it. It was gonna be like, this is terrible, and then I went and I was like, wait a minute, Joe Dante made this. Maybe it won't be that bad after all.
There's do you see the gizmo? I can see
Jason biting his knuckle like he's gonna shit all over the movie. Apparently he also hates Gremlins because this movie is the same thing.
No, well, I think that's a great segue to our good host, co-host, friend,
Jason. Emissary of the Gorgonites.
Here's the thing.
Actually, are you an emissary of the Gorgonites, or are you part of the Commando Elite?
Well, I am an emissary of the Gorgonites if I have to choose. Tommy Lee Jones's voiceover work sounded like he recorded like one soundbite at a time. Anyway, as it turns out, I thought I had never seen this movie, but it came out at a time when I was evolving from a preteen to a teenager. I was watching a lot of movies and also feeling like, this is stupid.
Typical teenager.
Typical 13-year-old is what I realized I was at this time. So I was probably just in junior high. I thought literally everything was stupid except for The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh,
you
were stupid.
Yeah.
Yo, what was he cooking?
I don't know, but can you smell it?
An ass whooping. He was cooking an ass whooping.
Yeah. So
what did it smell like?
Ass.
I don't know. Ass whooping. Sweat.
Yeah, man, sweat.
But I do recall seeing this movie. I must have seen it the year it came out or very shortly after, because I don't remember I didn't remember like details, but I did remember like moments in the movie. So I was completely oblivious to how awesome the cast is. However, the problem is I really want to see the mythical adult version of this, because there was the parts that I gelled with this viewing. I was like, oh, I could see if they took this a little bit further, it would be extremely funny. And for my sensibilities, I'm more like a Gremlins, but everything was like toned down to the point that while I do love the concept of this movie and I do love elements, I would come around again this time and merely remember moments. I don't want to get too into it till we get to the body of this thing. But I didn't have a good time for the whole thing this time, and I suspect that I didn't have a good time watching it originally. It was probably at a sleepover. Still had sleepovers when I was like 13, It might have been a year later. It might have been on like TBS constantly. You know what I mean? So I may have only seen it in bits.
At that time, like age, your malleability is so different from year to year that like even a 2-year difference in age can really warp your perspective on something.
Yeah, like I might remember it because I saw it at like literally 3 years later. I would be like going to parties and smoking weed and sneaking in and not really like consuming media. You know what I mean? Like
I was 10 when this came out, so this was like
your prime
wasn't too scary, wasn't like too childish. I was like that. I was the target audience for this movie.
Like I was already getting I already knew at this point. I would have known David Cross from Mr. Show. Like I was watching Mr. Show for sure. I would have known Denis Leary from that song.
Oh yeah, that song. Yeah.
I wouldn't have known who any of them were. Any of those three comedians.
I knew who Jay Mohr was at that time too, because he was constantly in sitcoms and movies as a dummy.
I remember Phil Hartman because he died the year this movie came out. Yeah. And it was all over the news and shit.
This was Phil Hartman's last movie, and at this time, I was a Phil Hartman mega fan. I watched News Radio.
There's a post-credit scene at the end where
there is. I was going to ask if you guys stayed for it.
Oh, really? I fast forwarded, but I missed it. Maybe it wasn't in my copy, but anyway, that's.
You mean your pirated copy? This guy's timbers are shivered over here.
Hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Back to you, Kaylin.
Oh my God, there's a knock at Jason's door. It's the FBI.
So I bought it twice, so that makes up for Jason. Because I have this on VHS, and now I also have it on DVD, which I just so happened to find at no product placement for $5.
Does it have a director's commentary? This is a movie I would be interested to listen to the commentary.
Unfortunately, there wasn't a director's commentary. I wish there was like a little bit of a behind the scenes kind of vignette or whatever where they kind of like talk to different people and shit.
This is how we made a doll walk. I don't give a shit.
Well, so you guys made an interesting point. It kind of originally was supposed to be for like a bit of an older youth or whatever, but then during production they wanted to tone it down or whatever, so you kind of get that like it's almost a weird in between, but also like still kind of works just enough.
It just made me want to watch Puppet Master. It made me want to go watch the Puppet Master movies.
What's Puppet Master? Do I know?
It's a horror movie.
Is that a horror movie? Yeah.
Like I maybe just want to go watch.
Is there toys in it?
Puppets.
Yes,
well, they're puppets.
Puppets.
Really? I thought it was just he controlled people.
No.
He controls puppets.
There's puppets that come out of your toilet.
Maybe I've never been. Should we put that on the list?
Dude, I showed it Puppet Master when we were doing the trailer show briefly. I did the June. I thought we did
Pinhead or whatever, the Hellraiser guy.
No, that's Hellraiser. Puppet Master is about these puppets that are like Satan controls them.
No, we definitely watched one of the
kill you while you're
trailers.
Fucking. I think that's their thing. I think that's all right. Well, sign me up for that.
Well,
they come and stab you in the butthole while you're banging out on a woman or a man.
Oh man! Speaking of getting stabbed in the butthole, that scene from Everything Everywhere where they're trying to stab.
Hey! Some people in the audience might not have seen it already.
I think everybody in the world has seen it, and I was the last one, but Kaylin was really the last one to see it. It's very good.
Well, Jason, because of you, I ended up getting it the other day when I was at product placement.
What?
I'm gonna try
sure...
and not say brand. I'm gonna try and not say brand names, and I'm gonna pretend to edit the word out.
Okay, you're the host.
Yeah.
And I'm too tired to fight with you
my
today.
episode this week.
So, Caleb, when was the first time you saw this movie?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Steven.
Yeah.
I saw this movie when it came out. I have a younger brother, almost 5 years younger than me. And so there's this movie actually kind of plays in that our dynamic where he kind of got to experience some older things, like just through me or whatever, and I still got to experience younger things through him. And then also, so we saw this. How could we not love it? It was toys coming to life and doing what you always want to. That scene at the beginning when was it Gilmars, the Denis Leary, the new owner of
just say Denis Leary. I don't remember his name. Bill Gates, eviler Bill Gates.
I was like, are you talking about Jay Mohr?
Yeah, I was like, I think you mean David Cross.
But he's like, do they really do that? That always really stuck with me. Anyway, so we saw the movie. We got the toys. Obviously, this at the end when it's like, oh, would have made a good commercial. This movie was a whole commercial, and we got suckered in. We bought in. We got the toys. The best thing about having a slightly younger brother, we could collect the whole set that much quicker or whatever.
Good point.
Yeah.
Because you could both ask for figures for your birthday or Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. You get this one, I'll get this one, and this one.
Seems like a waste. Although I guess I did that with wrestling figures with my friends, and we'd trade. We'd have drafts. It was
no, but we're brothers.
nerdy.
Those are friends. You don't live with your friend. We were brothers, so it's like we basically it's like he had all of them, I had, you know what I mean? Because it was just like we shared and shit. But yeah, it was I definitely connected with a lot, or was drawn in rather by the fact that it was toys actually doing what you wanted them to do. And on that note, let's do a quick little. I'll do a back of the cover read summary of. Are you guys scissoring?
No,
I was just doing all of the different ways that you could make your action figures bang.
My friend used to mess with my action figures, and it really pissed me off.
Me too. It used to drive me
I'd
nuts.
have them set up.
But now it's
stop making Roddy Piper buttfuck Goldberg.
Yeah,
stop it.
I wish I had a Roddy Piper figure.
What does that say? Like, what does that say about who more? Me having some figures or him making them fuck?
Well, it's to my friends would do it because they thought it made me mad, and it made me go, ugh. I have to put my figures back like after they left because if I put
I gotta reset them up.
But I do have a friend who has like he has like hundreds of the 3.5 inch like Marvel figures.
Oh, I think I know him.
He'd leave the room and I'd make like an orgy. And he'd come back and he'd just be like, I'm not even mad, like it's funny, but after you leave, I have to like put all of them back. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of it. I get to be a pervert and make you do work. So I get it.
You have to imagine it though.
Yeah.
I had a friend who drew a bunch of boobs on the heads of characters that I had drawn in my sketchbook and when I was in middle school, and it made me so upset.
Well, that's awful.
Yeah, that's vandalism.
That's that's like graffitiing over somebody else's graffiti style vandalism.
Yeah.
I
got so mad at him for a long time. Now I'm the best man at his wedding.
Dip your fucking D&D figures that you painted in peanut butter.
That also makes me upset because it's like now I have to literally clean them with like a toothbrush.
Can I be your plus one?
No, I have a partner, Caleb.
And you live in a different province.
Yeah.
Like not even you're telling you live like in Quebec. You live 3 provinces away, 4 provinces
out your guys' way in September.
Cool, we can talk about that after.
Pardon?
Yeah, this is off mic talk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. All right, so today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, Small Soldiers, Commando Elite, Gorgonites, not Scum. Let's see what it says on the back. Big action.
Whoa,
dude.
Big fun.
What is it good for? Absolutely
Big
nothing.
movie.
I have things to say about that moment, but anyway, we'll get there.
Wait, I fucked up the tone. I see what they're doing here. I'll do it again.
Big dicks.
Big action. Big fun. Big movie. Small soldiers. One huge adventure. Meet the Commando Elite, toy action figures with an attitude. They've escaped from their boxes along with the Gorgonites, kind-hearted but unusual-looking creatures. Now, teenager Alan Abernathy gets enlisted to help the Gorgonites and rescue the girl of his dreams before the whole town is turned upside down. Small Soldiers is a spectacular adventure for the whole family.
You're right, Steve. This movie is basically a shot-for-shot, worse shot-for-shot remake of Gremlins that almost borderlines.
Well, so yeah,
on being Gremlins 2.
No, Gremlins 2 is bananas, cartoony banana magic.
But, okay, that's true, but it still has that.
I was not saying that this movie is the. I was not saying this movie is the equivalent to Gremlins, and I also was mostly joking when I was like, "Oh, okay, Jason hates it as much as he hates Gremlins," because I like your friend posing your action figures in an orgy. I was trying to piss you off.
Make me mad. Well, Gremlins is one of my favorite movies, and that I found I was grasping onto the Joe Dante of it all while watching this, and I was like,
but it does feel like
I was picking little pieces out of it that I was like, that's like Gremlins, that's like Gremlins. But there was some stuff that I was just like, this casting of Alan made me real mad. There's no way that.
What? Why?
I hate this kid so much.
A badass kind of kid who would flood his teacher's room or whatever.
He doesn't seem like that. He seems like a little dweeb boy. He's like.
Well, I honestly was watching that and I was like, what if like because they never really confirm or deny all the shit that he's done. I always was like, because every time they would say, "Oh, I heard about you. You did this crazy thing." It was like maybe he's just adding that to the collection of crazy things he can say he's done when really he's just like got into a couple fights or something and was like a shitty kid.
I guess he does. He's like, "Didn't you light your school on fire?" And he's like, "Just to watch it burn." So maybe you're right.
So
maybe
like he's like creating his mythos of like what everybody already thinks of him, because he looks like he's pretty downtrodden in his own life, because it's like, well, if everybody thinks I'm a big huge fuck up, why don't I just live into that and like make it seem like I am insane?
But doesn't the dad basically confirm it all though, where he's like,
I thought there was
not really
mention by by a truthful source or whatever.
They mention the therapist a lot, but I don't recall a moment where they're like, well, this is worse than the time that you burned your school down.
Right. There was like a few times where it was other characters saying what they thought they heard. Then I think there was one time where he said what he did, and I took that as truth.
It's when they're fixing the boat. He rattles off a couple of things that he did.
He flooded the teacher's room and
I believe the graffiti, and I believe
he doesn't look like a kid who graffitis.
No, but he looks like a kid.
Do I look like a kid who's graffitis?
He looks like a kid that
like. Have you ever graffitied on a building though?
He looks like a kid that he looks like a kid.
My bad.
He looks like a kid that would get peer pressured into bullying or into bullied into graffiti and then get caught in lieu of the bully.
Oh damn! I think you just solved it.
And instead of lying and saying he didn't do it, he just admits to doing it. Yeah, I did it. It was me, and then doesn't rat out the people that did it.
Casting that much better.
Well, unfortunately, that's not in the script, so it's not part of the movie. This is us like extrapolating on something.
Corner, or what's the segment called?
It's my conspiracy. It's my theory corner, but it's not.
This is Kaylin's caring and sharing corner. How do we make this character better? The time that me and my brother collected the whole set because we're brothers.
I hated Alan, and I hated the way Kirsten Dunst was written. Because she's like, I like Led Zeppelin, and then Alan goes, "You're a different kind of girl."
Yeah. I mean, it's 1998, so it's like
that's true, and a kids movie, and
it's made for children, and like the stuff that's made for adults is actually very funny to me. Like I laughed very, very longer than I should have when Phil Hartman pops a chip in his mouth, leans back and takes a sip of his booze and says, "I think that World War II was my favorite war." Just like leans back as he's watching his new giant TV. Like I giggled for like 10 seconds straight. Yeah. It was so funny. But there's a few moments like that throughout, like sprinkled throughout. There are moments that are purely through dialogue that are very charming and funny. There's no visual gag in this movie that makes me laugh or chuckle, but everything that did was like subtly tossed in through dialogue or very quick and snappy.
I liked how
you
brutal...
mentioned the chips before the pod. That's one of my favorites that always stands out. Where it's like looking for chips, really good chips, a lot of really good chips.
Hello, Mr. Chips.
Hello, Mr. Chips. I hated that personally. I did really like when they murdered that one commando by putting him in a carburetor and him grinding, like brutally grinding half of his body away.
Yeah.
That's when I was like
doing a war movie thing where he's crawling and his legs are flopping around like.
That reminded me of the scene in Gremlins when the mom fucking puts a gremlin in a blender, which is way more brutal. That
it kind of reminded me of Batman Returns and Catwoman.
What?
Doesn't she like food dispense her stuffed animals or something?
Oh, and she's stuffing the stuffed animals. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I meant to add.
I'm like, is that how she loses one of her lives? And
yeah, I was like, is that how she loses both her legs at the end of the movie?
That's why she has a. That's why they had to have a prosthetic head. Michelle Pfeiffer actually fell headfirst into a carburetor.
She never worked in this town again.
He'll never work in this town again until Dangerous Minds, and then he'll become a mega
star. She didn't do very much afterwards, did she?
Should we kind of walk through the movie? It's not a very complex nor long
I'll do
story.
A little walk through, and we'll have little tangents along the way. We'll give a quick little shout out to some of our characters. Gregory Smith playing Alan Abernathy, Kirsten Dunst playing Christy Fimple, Tommy Lee Jones, voice of Chip Hazard, Frank Langella. Am I saying that right?
Langella.
My bad. Archer. Thank you, Stephen. Phil Hartman, everyone's favorite, Phil Fimple, David Cross, Irwin Wayfair. Also, I'm assuming that was a shout out to Irwin Toys.
Could be.
Maybe. Jay Mohr, Larry Benson, Dennis Leary, Gil Mars, Dick Miller Joe, the truck driver, one of my personal faves.
Dick Miller's been in like everything at that during that time.
He's in both Gremlins movies. He's also like he's like a horror staple where like if a low budget horror movie contacted him at the time, he would always show up just to be like the old janitor or something, being like, "What? The mall's closed. Get out of here."
He's got a good face.
Well, he also just really enjoyed like being cameos and things, and even if he just has a small role.
Yeah, why not? I would.
There's a movie called Chopping Mall where he shows up as a janitor and gets immediately killed, and it's extremely funny.
Is it like a campy horror with lots?
It's a very campy horror movie.
Chopping Mall.
Yeah. Is it a campy horror or? Yeah.
Is it a cerebral? Is it a cerebral?
No, it's a slasher movie that takes place in a mall where the mall they fire all the security guards and they get robots to be the security, but they're like weird like Wall-E style robots, and they get struck by lightning or something, and then they turn evil and start killing everybody in the mall. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I had forgotten.
Did you guys know?
I had forgotten about what the how the robots come to life, and I was like, are these robots going to get the chips put in them and then get struck by lightning? But then it was a weird technology that's infinitely better than the technology that we will ever have for action figures.
Well, I mean, you're going to cling on to the inconsistencies of the plot? No, it's a movie about toys coming to life. But Robert Picardo in this movie is amazing.
They
when
may
he's explaining the ships and he gets all fucking crazy.
That's Q, right?
Also a nod to Frankenstein.
Not Q, no.
Or not Q, the robot from...
It's the holographic doctor from
one of the Star Treks.
Yeah. He's also in the Gremlins movie. He's in Gremlins 2. He's like the mall... Or not the... He's not a mall. He's like the second in command of the building or whatever.
Yeah. The office building, whatever. Speaking of toys, though, did you guys know that the toys outsold the movie? Thanks to me and my brother.
Not surprising at all. Yeah, no.
Because anything marketed this way is going to do better. I would say that Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters probably did better Transformers until the new movies probably did better toys wise than the shows.
Right. Well, this movie, like I remember it was humongous, like it was everywhere, and there were like video games on like every console.
There was a game,
PC, and there was a bunch of video games and stuff, and like I had the computer game, and it was like almost like XCOM style, where you have like a certain amount of points and stuff. and I did not know how to play it. I was like, I don't understand. Why can't I just? Why do I have to only move this far and then I have to wait? I don't get it.
Yeah,
I was too dumb to play.
Tactics games were a real hurdle for me too when I was a kid, like Final Fantasy Tactics and Ogre Battle, and I didn't.
I'm still not great at them, but I like them now.
XCOM is a little different though, because like they're a little bit more complex, and that complexity makes them a little bit faster to wrap your head around. But I mean, I was good at like Shining Force for Sega, which was like very basic.
Shining Force
1 and 2 are amazing, but the thing is in that middle area, Tactics and Ogre Battle 64 and the weird middle ones where there was some complexity but it was still super boring.
I rented Metal Gear Solid once, couldn't figure it out, and I never tried again.
It's not even in the same realm of what we're talking about.
What? I thought it was. I thought you guys were talking about like
no
Tactics, like Hitman.
No. Hitman and Metal Gear are in the same kind of stealth genre.
Right. What are you guys talking about?
Tactics means you have a certain amount of distance you can move and a certain amount of attacks you can make in a turn. So then it goes to their turn. It's like playing chess.
It's like chess, but all your units do different things instead of having a very set number of, like, you'll have it's the same kind of thing as like an RPG. Like when I talk about Final Fantasy games, it's closer to those than it is Metal Gear. What?
Sorry. Which brings us back to
the synopsis that we never started.
So
we're like, let's tell a little bit about the story. All right, let's give a shout out to Frank Langella and Dick Miller or whatever.
But Globotech, the new corporation in town, I'm not sure if that's a true statement, but the big up and up coming up or whatever, or buying everything. Also, did you guys hear that comment about I think it's Joe actually, is like, one day one corporation's going to own everything. Like that's real, like that's what's been
real if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Kalen there. Is it Walmart? Is it Amazon? Who knows what I was talking about?
Who knows? Yeah, exactly.
You could insert any company that now has a streaming service.
That's the best part. Yeah. But yeah, so we got this new company buying up this other company, and good old President Gil Mars is making moves. He was inspired by Irwin's and Larry's turnaround of making a previous product that much better and selling.
Yeah, the Belch Brigade. We're all familiar with the Belch Brigade.
Belch Brigade is amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so he's bought up Globotech. They're meeting for the first day and they're presenting their new line. We get Irwin, the nice, kind-hearted employee, presenting the Gorgonites, the peaceful creatures that will help you learn about your own, learn about the country or the world or what have you, because they're trying to find their home, and you need to help them find their home. And then Mr. CEO, President Gil Mars over here is like, wait. Excuse me. Did you just say learning? Yeah.
Kalen, we're not going to break through every fucking scene like this, are we? Come on, we don't need to break down every piece of dialogue in every scene. Let's go.
No, luckily there's giant swaths of this movie that is just random shit,
random bullshit. Yeah, that's true.
Stuff.
There's a 15-minute scene where they're just like going around.
Exactly.
That's true. It flops back and forth between Chip Hazard being like, and then being like, what are we gonna do? We can't find the toys.
Exactly.
We'll turn this lawn.
Oh, that must mean they haven't found the toys.
Gorgon.
So
we must get back to Gorgon.
It flops. He doesn't like it. Larry comes in with this cool ass box, with this cool ass figure posed all cool, and then puts on a commercial, hits him with the pizzazz of the Commando Elite. And boy, is fucking Gil Mars soul. No? Too much?
His name? Okay, just say the actors, please. I have no idea you're fucking talking about when you name the characters.
The president, Denis Leary, Gil Mars.
Denis Leary, okay.
Yeah.
Denis Leary, yes. He says, hold on, yeah, well, these toys can't bust out of the glass like that, can you? I'm tired. And then he goes into his,
yeah, exactly.
He goes into his like asshole music video for a minute. He's like, you know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of these things.
That was his whole shtick.
Yeah.
There was
He
Sam
literally
Kinison,
goes into a I'm an asshole EO moment.
there,
Where he's like
Sam
walking around
Kinison was an actor, was a comedian in the 80s who tragically died of an overdose, much like Chris Farley, who used to get really steamed up and mad, but he was way funnier. And then Denis Leary came around about the same time and did a more like Republican right-wing kind of version of that, where he's like, you know what pisses me off when these liberals, but it wasn't like that back then. So that's why they always hired him as like a dickhead in movies. He always plays like an Irish asshole.
He doesn't do that anymore. Like, I mean, when he acts, he still usually is cast as an asshole-ish character, usually with a heart of gold now at this point. But like, I don't think he would ever go on I'm an asshole rants anymore, because nowadays it's like, now everybody does it. Now it's like Bill Maher is doing it, and even we're like, oh, Bill.
Well, Bill Maher is doing exactly what I described, like, but actually, like, with no hyperbole, like he actually is like, you know, these snowflakes are really getting my goal. Denis Leary would do a version of that before there was so much like divide between the left and right.
Where he's like, I want to litter and not have someone tell me I'm an asshole about it. So
I walk around in the summertime saying, how about this heat?
Yeah. So yeah, he says, get it done, make them able to break out of the box or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. One thing he says though that kind of stuck with me is he's like, what do soldiers need? And answer being enemies, right?
Yeah.
And then I started getting like philosophical. It's like, oh man, we got to train our soldiers to be something other than soldiers, because if there aren't enemies presenting themselves, then you're trying to find enemies, and that just leads to like,
well, the Canadian military.
Well, welcome to the theme of the movie, Caleb.
Yeah,
that's the theme of the movie.
The Canadian military is literally defense. We don't go sticking our dick in every country that has like a little bit of strife.
And we're globally known as peacekeepers. Like when we go, we're not there to fight. We're there to stop conflict. Which I think the Gorgonites is a little bit of like a honey glaze on top of like a big nasty piece of shit. But like, who knows?
But the Gorgonites are kind of represented. They represent hippies, they represent Canadians, they represent
I think they
neutral
represent
countries,
the misunderstood. I think
the misunderstood
to represent,
you know, they're empaths. They're basically fully written off of, I'm just going to say David Cross's character. It's like, it's David Cross's character in multiple different personalities versus Denis Leary's character in, you know. And for a minute, if the kid element wasn't in this movie, I'm sure Jay Mohr's character would be the main character, and he'd be like trying to deal with the Archer. You know what I mean? If this was like if this was like a teen, like a
like maybe
maybe
the kid is like, you know, he's like 20 and he didn't go to college or something, and his dad's getting a little too old to keep the store open, so then he gets this shipment of incorrect toys, and he's like, well, you know what, the store will make more money if we sell these shitty toys or something.
Or he's stoner buddies with Jay Mohr, and instead of like a delivery man giving him because it's they have to age it up, so it's a stoner comedy now in my head. But
and now there has to be weed because it's the year 2016 and everyone's high as fuck.
Well, it's 1998 and we need a new stoner comedy.
Everyone's high, I think.
How High hasn't come out yet, and neither has Half Baked. So we need a new stoner comedy. We got toys. The toys are gonna smoke weed. It's gonna be hilarious.
The year is 2006, and Jason just fought Freddy. And what do we have down the pipeline? Small Soldiers 2. This time everyone's fucking baked.
Rated hard. Everybody's baked. And Dave Chappelle is in it for some reason.
And he puts like a Chip Hazard in a potato sack, and he's like, "Gotcha, bitch!" And then smashes it on a wall. Okay, I fed into that for longer than I should have.
That was the funniest thing you've ever said.
No, it was good. It was perfect. It was perfect. These are the things that I like.
Good.
But we move on. They leave. Denis Leary, aka Gilmar, is sold on the idea. Go get it done, guys. Hey, but la da da, nod, stop talking. And then so Miss Kegel, which Jason, you said her name in chat, And when I was watching the movie, when I heard it, I was like, "That's interesting, isn't it?"
Well, first she walks up.
Subliminal? Is it subliminal?
Well, she walks up and she's not like she's she's completely covered and she's pretty like not like bad looking, but she's not like meant to be like sexy. She's like a military.
I like the
woman,
Office
kind of.
look. What are you talking about?
And Jay Mohr like almost does an awooga.
He does it. He literally goes, oh, just like staring at her legs.
And then she reveals that her name is Miss Kegel, and I went, "That's for the parents. That's a joke for the parents."
Is that what that's what I kind of took it as?
I don't understand. What is the joke?
It's when you strengthen your pelvic muscle.
Yeah, do you know what a Kegel is?
Is it like an exercise thing where you like do the thing, or
I'm
not
doing,
with your legs?
I'm doing
with your
a Kegel
inside
right now.
It's like your inside muscle,
like your taint.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I was like, I don't understand.
It's like it grabs on and.
Well.
Oh, okay. Now I get it.
You know how like you like, do a Kegel. Google it. You might be missing out. You might have not known about this, and now you're gonna figure out.
Listen, I'm a tiny boy with stubble. I don't understand these things.
No, dude,
I'm just an innocent boy.
Oh yeah, it's when you're 10. But now you hear it again, and you're like, I'm a 35-year-old man, and I know what a Kegel is.
Yeah, I'm talking about now. When I watched it today, I've watched it 3 times.
I wouldn't have known what a Kegel was when I was 13. Well, maybe I would.
Definitely didn't pick up on it. But she gives them they are now employees of Globotech. She gives them their password.
Watch as Steve is corrupted in real time.
It's just an exercise, guys.
Yeah, for your taint.
Pelvic floor exercise.
So you're
involving repetitions of both sustained and rapid voluntary contractions of the muscles used especially to treat urinary inconsistencies and improve sexual function.
Urinary inconsistencies.
It means I want to come harder.
Well, or grab harder.
or come later.
All right, moving on. Kegel. Remember when his password was Gizmo?
Their passwords. Their secret passwords that are for them alone. And David Cross's character, Irwin, has a nice little chuckle as he mentions the word gizmo, which, as you guys mentioned, Joe Dante, also director of Gremlins, whose star creature was Gizmo.
Well, I didn't notice him say it there, but I noticed he calls him Gizmo later in the movie.
Gizmo is said 4 times, and then there's also a Gizmo keychain and a dumpster at one point. So the Gizmo
I think it's said 2 times, isn't it?
He says, "My password's Gizmo, ha ha ha," and then he's like, "Password, Gizmo."
Right.
And then later, they're like, "Who the hell put chips in the toys?" And he's like, "Gizmo over here did it." And then like, I'm sure there's one other one. Yeah.
No, I think you're right.
And then there's the keychain. So that's
well, at the end, he calls him Gizmo directly. He's like, "You got this, Gizmo."
Speaking of, Joe Dante wanted the cast from Predators to be the voice of the Commando Elite.
Oh, that would have been kind of funny and cool.
That would, Arnold,
which is also consistent with like why they picked all the actors they did, because every single one of them is a very renowned actor. Like every single voice in this is like a well-known actor.
Was the one that was losing its mind all the time that does like a tornado? Was that what's his face?
Insaniac was
Michael McKean, I'm told.
Oh, it's Michael McKean,
which is the brother from Better Call
Saul, and also he's in Spinal Tap.
Yeah, he's in a million things.
Oh yeah, and he's in all
every
of the
sitcom ever.
He's in all of the what's his face movies. Like
he's in a few Tim Burton movies, and he's in lots of stuff. But the other ones are like Jim Brown is, he's an old actor. He's in Mars Attacks. He's like the general who's supposed to go and shake the hands of the aliens. That's like the one that I can really kind of hit you with. Bruce Dern, who is now become like the old man in all the Quentin Tarantino movies. Remember the old general?
Yeah, that guy's dope. Yeah.
He plays Link Static, yeah. The guy who kills all those baby birds. What a horrible.
Oh yeah, I know. That's got to be some like inhumane.
Well, while I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if there was a more adult version where you hear like a bird tweeting and then its neck snap and the dead bird just falls out of the tree. He kills the mother bird as well. All right, I'm in position.
Oh, Christopher Guest is who I was thinking of, and he was also one of the Oh, and Harry Shearer, who's like all of Spinal Tap was in this.
Yeah. I think the Spinal Tap was the Gorgons, and then a bunch of like elderly actors. They were elderly at the time, but now like the ones who are still alive are like super elderly, like George Borgnine or Ernest Borgnine, sorry.
Yeah,
it was like one of them. And
Ernest Borgnine and George Kennedy. Oh, also the dolls were Sarah Michelle Gellar and Christina Ricci.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that one I knew. I was like, it's Buffy.
Hey, I met Christina Ricci, sort of. Ricci, sort of. Not. I didn't meet her, but like we were both on set together.
Then what happened?
Well, so she gives them their
they
password.
Said cut, we all went home.
And then we cut to Larry placing the orders.
How do you cut to in real life?
Yeah. Yeah. And then then so the action figures are being made. It's all got this cool laser stuff and like
music is also very good. Like it sounds like 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger action music. Like something that would be out of like Total Recall or something. It's pretty great.
And like good editing throughout too. Like this movie doesn't really have any lulls or anything. Like it's like it's from.
It has a lot of setup and payoff, which I really appreciated, and the structure is quite good. Like that's one of the things that I was not expecting. I thought there was going to be a lot of fluffy
like a kids movie
stuff that I didn't want or need, but everything is there for a reason, which is like, you know, makes it a better movie to watch as an adult. You're like, oh, I actually kind of feel a little bit invested in what's going on here. By the end, I'm like, okay, they could have maybe snipped this down about 15 minutes. I didn't need to see that much of the house being attacked.
It was 140.
But leading up to it, it was okay.
It was 149.
The first time they kill the commandos, though it would have been anticlimactic for them to die that way, felt like if it did end there, I would have been fine. I'd been like, okay.
They could have pared down the like love story that it actually has the least amount of payoff, because what's her face's character, Kirsten's character, was written so poorly that I didn't care. But it's a kids movie, so you have to have that in it.
So another movie that I've watched a billion times is Jumanji, and she's also in Jumanji. And Robin Williams' character in Jumanji is also named Alan. So every time she says Alan, I'm like, why does this sound so familiar in my brain? And I'm like, and then halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, she's also yelling Alan the whole time through Jumanji. So like her child voice in my brain was like echoing around in my skull, being like, it's familiar, but not from this. Like, what am I going insane here? And I cracked the code. It's Jumanji.
She was a cool chick though, Jason. She listened to Led Zeppelin. Also, isn't it hard to like license Led Zeppelin music?
Yes, notoriously hard.
She's also not cool, guys. She's also a fucking dweeb. Like she has a room full of like Barbie.
I have questions about that too. When she's murdering them all at the end, she says, "I always hated you," even though she's got this giant crazy collection. And also, when they attack her and Gulliver's Travels her, they're like, what would happen if we pulled your head off? And I'm like, she had you perfectly pristine in packages. Where's all this animosity coming from?
Touche. Good call.
Well, they don't have the chips in their heads. This is like the chip of Nick Nitro that's in their brain.
Yeah,
so they're thinking like Nick Nitro. They're not thinking like what a Barbie doll coming to life would be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point. See, that's a little bit too subversive for this movie.
No, I mean they make it pretty clear, because like he pulls his head off and he rips his skin off and he cracks his skull up and he takes it and he says, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." He like turns it into like a Frankenstein lab. That's my favorite part.
That's my favorite part of the movie too.
So good.
I just wanted to talk about some ham-fisted foreshadowing, and the Led Zeppelin line I think might have been
Nail in Coffin,
them being like, oh, we're gonna play a Led Zeppelin song later, so we gotta maximize this. When she's like, I like Led Zeppelin, so they play it later. Maybe it's not foreshadowing, it's that's kind of more of a payoff thing. The most ham-fisted foreshadowing that I've ever seen in a movie comes from Denis Leary right before this whole sequence, when he says, don't call it violence, call it action. Kids love action. After all, they're just toys. Yeah,
we all know that everything else is just a toy.
Yeah,
everything.
Exactly.
You're right back.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good. See, now that's also an interesting, like, you know, like commentary or whatever about how actual advertising works and shit, right? Like you're selling the same thing, but you're just changing the way you're phrasing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Gorgonites are a much more interesting toy, but because they're a learning toy and they're written to be empathetic, they're immediately basic as fuck, and people want to see the murder toys. There's a point near the end of the movie where he's like,
I think you want to see the murder toys. We just want to see action.
I want
Kids love action.
The
toys.
Yeah,
Dennis Leary told us so.
What if in the stoner comedy version? What if in the stoner comedy version, when these dolls get chuckied to life, so they do get hit by lightning
through an evil amulet? Yeah.
Through an evil amulet, getting hit with lightning like simultaneously, but also it gives them blood. So those scenes where they get maimed, they're super bloody.
I don't think I need to see them bloody. I think when they're not bloody, it's fine. Chucky in the first movie wasn't bloody, but he gets all burnt up and nasty at the end, and it's like real gross.
Yeah, I liked that.
I mean, Chip Hazard probably should have been more melty at the end, and I guarantee you they probably had more melty versions of him that were way scarier, and they probably did it to test audiences, and children were like, I don't like him now.
Apparently Steven Spielberg had his hand in this a little bit as well.
Well, him and Joe Dante are like buddies. Like they work they don't work hand in hand, but DreamWorks, which this movie was produced by, that's Steven Spielberg owns that company.
Yeah,
company.
that's
right.
Yeah. Is that the team that broke off from Disney and created their own studio?
They wanted to make their own animation studio that didn't have to adhere to the Disney product, because like Disney was very like, we have to do things within this rule set, and they're like, no, we want to make things for teenagers, or like at least middle school kids.
Pixar movies, if you don't know that they're Disney, you can tell that they're Disney. You know what I mean? Like their stories are very Disney style.
Yeah.
But DreamWorks are all over the place.
Safe. They're safe.
Yeah. Whereas this is like
Ants,
a movie
DreamWorks.
Ants is a DreamWorks, yeah. This movie, or I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
I think Bug Life is the other one, and Ants is DreamWorks.
Bug's Life is most definitely Pixar. I think Ants is DreamWorks, but it might be something else completely different, because DreamWorks that movie was like made for adults, not for kids.
Shrek is DreamWorks.
Shrek is DreamWorks. Ice Age is DreamWorks.
Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon.
Panda, yeah.
Can I ask? Can I interrupt for a second?
Boss Baby.
Oh.
So these toys get made.
We did that movie, right?
Joe, the delivery driver.
Or Frank Grillo like goes on a killing spree a million times around or something.
Yeah, Boss Baby. Yeah, I forgot so we lampooned it. Sorry, Kayla, go ahead.
What if I had like a little swirly thing up here?
Do it. Shave your whole head except for a little Boss Baby swirl, and we'll get 1 million views per minute.
I might shave my whole head and then just grow my beard out.
What's your question?
Why?
Oh, right. So the toys get made. Joe, the delivery driver, is driving them to out. So we see Alan go to his dad, or he gets to his dad's store, Inner Child. There's some kids, family, or whatever out front. It's like, oh, let's get out of here. This place sucks. And he's all embarrassed to that's his, his dad's store or whatever. And he works for his parents. I used to work for my mom at her store, and I could sympathize with him a little bit, because I didn't mind doing it, but it was like a tailor shop. And so it was like usually women coming in to get clothing altered.
Is this like a boner story? What's going on, Kellen? Come on.
No, this is not a boner story.
So many boners per minute.
No, I'm just saying it was a weird environment for me to go work at. But it was for my mom. I helped out and shit. And so what I'm trying to say is I could sympathize with this part of the story when he's working at the store, and it's like old toys that no one likes. And then he wants to try and, so Joe, nice guy Joe, comes to bring an order. Like, oh, hey, what's that? Oh, I don't know. Let's find out. Some dope ass fucking Commando Elites and Gorgonites being shipped, and they're checking it out before the rest of the world. They're voice activated. They have little walkie-talkies to communicate to each other through, which pays off later on when you see them talking to each other and shit. The Alan, played by Gregory Smith.
All right, you can say Alan for the kid because they scream his name like 25,000 times in the movie.
And no, that kid didn't go anywhere. Oh, yeah, actually, he was in the new...
I feel like I've seen him in one or two other things.
Let's just go ahead and say that he wasn't in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. You know, like his co-actor was.
What?
Well, he looks like he was in the new... Oh, never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
What was that movie made in Halifax? Was it Hobo with a Shotgun?
That was made in Halifax.
That classic movie that everybody loves and has seen more than
it's a cult,
5 minutes of.
It's a cult classic, and you're right, he is in it. He plays Slick. I'm looking at his shit right now. He's also in The Patriot.
Anyway.
And he was on Everwood. And Rookie Blue most recently.
Is that movie considered a cult classic? Because I've never met this cult.
Hobo with a Shotgun? Have you not seen it?
I've seen the movie, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm questioning this cult. And
Jason Eisner, who made it, is he's like a East Coast celebrity basically, and he makes the wrestling Dark Side of the Ring wrestling show that's really popular with wrestling fans. But he made this movie, and it was kind of his like I would say his 15 minutes of fame. It did really well in I thought you were going to say
it was his 15 minutes of Citizen Kane. You know, the really action-packed part.
That's saying.
Yeah.
The 15 minutes of Citizen Kane you're talking about is where they have like a dance-off. Very revolutionary for the time.
Yeah.
Smudging my glasses.
I'm breathing?
No, I keep touching it by accident.
Use your drawing glove.
This one actually, I've been using it so much that it has like finger grease like embedded into it, so it like touches it, and smears it just as bad as a normal finger. So yeah, Frank Miller says, "What about your dad's rule against no war toys? I don't like your tone; it's too loud. Let's put them on the shelf, and you'll pay me back later." There we go. I sped through that scene.
Later if they've gone missing and then money shows up, and you can't just give it to the company. Hey, remember those toys that went missing? Here's some money.
Yeah, I know, but Frank was probably like, yeah, stuff goes missing sometimes. I can do this. And then you give me money later and whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Give me like 20% of whatever you make off these things.
Here's something I picked up on later. I don't know if they talk about this right away, but like the action figures are break street date by like a week, which is insane. If you did that with a video game, the internet would melt.
I used to work at a video game store, and there was because when I worked at the store, you would get the games usually about 3 to 5 days before you're supposed to put them on the shelf. So we would have copies of like Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto 4, whatever. Those are just big ones that I remember.
And then you just pocket one for yourself?
Well, that's how they get linked to the internet.
Yeah, if I was to take one home, they would know that me activate, because like those games at that time needed to be activated via the internet, and like they have copies that they send out to reviewers and stuff that they know are getting it. So if like another one pops up, you can get in trouble. But also I was the assistant manager, I was not the manager. So like if I was to do that, the manager was like the biggest, like it was like working for like Dwight Schrute kind of thing. Right? Like he would know if I took one, so I wouldn't do it. But there was another video game store in the mall that would also get their shipments on the same day as us. And they were like a third part. They weren't like a big video game store. They were just some like mom and pop style thing. And they would just sell the games when they got them. Right away. So sweet. I would usually buy my games from them, because I would just go down the hall and be like, all right, can I get the new Mass Effect a couple days early, please? And
an interesting thing that'll happen sometimes if you order physical copies off of like Amazon, I'm just gonna say, who cares? They will sometimes break street date accidentally, because they'll send it out aiming for a time, and then it'll come days early, because sometimes the mail goes faster. It's rare, but then you'll see people online be like, I'm playing this game right now, Amazon dropped it off.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't think that action figures would be as provable, especially, and I think this is supposed to be like a pretty small town, right? Like they have a big toy store, but
all you have to say is 1998. The internet was like barely internet. It was still internet. It wasn't even internet 2.0 yet. Like that you couldn't like scroll pages.
The point we were
really.
trying to make is that like that shipment that he had was for that big toy store, right? So the big toy store got their delivery that day as well. So like they all got it at the same time. It's just this kid decided to like pop open two of them and put them next to each other, and they started fighting.
They started fucking.
So it's like I'm just like imagining the scenario where that didn't happen, and then all these people bought them and took them home, and then like they all just started like killing each other in the living rooms of like a million, or I think he said 250,000 of each.
I was thinking about that too. If this movie never happened, then there's a different movie that happens where the toys do make it home, and then that's the stoner comedy.
Take over the world. Yeah. Well, it would have been like that scene in
do that.
You know that scene in like The Nightmare Before Christmas where all like the evil toys start like terrorizing people in their homes, and it's just like a montage of like just mass hysteria. It would just be that, which is less interesting in my opinion. I like the small contained story of just like one platoon of
post-apocalyptic. It's after the toys are unleashed.
You're thinking Puppet Master like 12 movies down the line. It's like this time the Elite Master 12.
This time they're Nazis.
All the chip hazards have been melted down to make one giant human-sized chip hazard. You just terminating people.
Like the chip hazard like person in a suit in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked pretty good though, right? Like the CGI with the practical, like,
you know what? I watching the trailer, I was really wary because the CGI in the trailer looked so bad, and I was wary about it. But then I realized, this trailer probably came out like a year before the movie, and I think they did a little bit more lighting and stuff because it doesn't look good. But like there are scenes where Chip Hazard is moving around, and you can tell they've deliberately made everything really dark. And shadowy to hide the imperfections.
That's what I wanted to mention about this. The practical effects are awesome, but it's so jarring when it suddenly goes CG. It's like, why it can't move that way when it's just like a practical. Its head moves, its arm goes up and down. It like can articulate its like face, but then it'll move and it starts like jumping and like moving like Spider-Man. But the thing that I noticed that was the biggest problem for me was like the difference between them being in a shadow. You know, there's an early scene where they're lined up and Chip Hazard's like going back and forth. You know, he takes his gun and he snaps it. I thought that looked pretty good. I made a note about how now with video games, the new trend, it went like 4K, and now that 4K is sort of the thing. Before we get to like 8K, it's all about ray tracing and lighting. And I think that they could like remaster this movie, take the CGI and remaster all the lighting and like scale it up a bit. And I think that a lot of these scenes would look awesome until you get to that scene where he's on a bike, he's on his bike and he's bicycling away, and that other like Chaz Bazooka or whatever.
Bazooka. Yeah. Played by Ernest Borgnine.
He's like climbing up the bike and keeps
it looks terrible.
It looks awful. Like shit. And the other thing that looked really bad is like towards the end where he puts them all on the boat, and it looks like the kids just like there's the boat scene, and then when they're in the bedroom where the thing's bouncing on his bed and he catches it, and it's like that stuff is really like poorly done as well. Like people didn't know how to act with CGI in tandem with the CGI looking bad.
Right.
Yep. I was gonna say, sorry, I had like 10 responses because you said so many fucking things in a row. You're like, let me just say every moment.
Let me just machine gun you with a bunch
of like, okay. The puppetry is good. The CG is bad. It's always bad. And when I say it looks good in some points and not in others, it always looks bad. But when they take the time to make the lighting shadow it, it's more acceptable. But what I didn't understand is like there are moments where they do have a huge close-up of Chip Hazard's face, and it's clearly it's not CGI, it's like a robot. And then they have the other ones where it is CGI, and like sometimes they'll be within the same talking scene.
I see.
And you're like, why didn't they just stick with the robot for the whole scene?
Right.
And if they did, or maybe
like
they
make a
didn't,
larger version, right? Instead of
yeah,
doing
like they
the
did with
scale
Gizmo
version.
in the old Gremlins movies. There's like a huge scale version of Gizmo that they made so they could articulate the eyes and the mouth and everything a little bit more. And maybe they didn't think they needed to do that because it's not supposed to be an articulated thing that has like mouth movements and stuff, but like stick to one or the other. You don't need to have Chip Hazard giving like a cocked grin or whatever like anytime something goes right or wrong. Just have him be like a blank-faced Terminator face.
That's actually a pretty good point. That's like,
those
yeah,
moments
that's great.
Those moments look a lot like the CGI cartoons of the time, where they just look bad and poorly produced and churned out.
But what I also don't understand is like throughout the majority of the movie, almost the entire movie, Archer is almost always a toy. Like he's almost always like a little robot thing. And like the only time they use him in CGI is if it's a far shot where he's kind of doing something and then moving out of the way, he'll pick him up and then he's a toy again, and they'll put him down and he's a toy again. And I'm like, did they spend more time on articulating Archer's face than they did with Chip Hazard's? And this is why this is happening.
Because he was the big ticket item from the movie. Like he was the one that they were trying to sell.
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie, when they're having the little face-off, which I think is pretty cool, on the power pole, Archer is fully CGI, his mouth and his eye, and he's doing the smiles and stuff too, and like it looks fucking shit. It looks terrible. Like it's like I'm watching a video game cutscene. This is not good.
In a similar way, there's a scene where I think he's talking to somebody, and he's a animatronic, and then he runs into a shadow, and he like, you know how they do the thing where like they run into a shadow and go black, and he jumps up and he's a silhouette and he's moving like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's the shit that made me, it took me out of it, and I just see CGI. If they, like I said, if they made this movie now, they could hide all of that. We wouldn't get any animatronic stuff probably if they made it now.
Which is kind of unfortunate.
Are animatronics getting better? Like CGI is getting better?
Not really, because
they peaked around this era, and then they moved over to CGI completely. So they probably just
there
stopped.
Are people that still do it, and it's still like it's almost like a handcrafting a table or whatever. There's people who've devoted their lives to becoming amazing artists at it, and because it's grown, it is improved. Like one prime example would be the Thing remake that they made like in 2011, I think it was.
Wasn't it a prequel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. The prequel to the Thing that they made in 2011. Sorry, I didn't say it right.
With Ramona Flowers.
Yeah. They made all these practical effects. They looked amazing. And you can look them up, and it looks better than the shit that came out in the 80s movie. But then they replaced all of it with CGI afterwards because of studio interference, because they're like, it doesn't look real. It looks like a rubber. It looks like rubber. And it's like, well,
that's real.
It is, exactly. No, it is real. It's rubber. Yes, that's the point. It's supposed to look like rubber because rubber looks more realistic than a bunch of computer pus quivering as it melts your face or whatever. And like those people went on to make another movie called Harbinger or something like that. And that movie was a really bad movie, but the practical effects in it were fucking dope. It's like the only reason you would want to watch that movie is for like the crazy practical effects. And it's kind of sad because, like you said, if a movie like this was made, all of it would be CGI.
But it would look good, and it would look consistent at least, I think, is kind of the end of my point there.
But consistency isn't always...
No. I want to see a movie like this
good,
where they put more... Like, how about this? This movie comes out 10 years earlier, and it plays... Well, I guess that'd be 1988.
And they have to only do animatronics. I think it would have been better. I think it would have been better, yeah.
And but okay, not 10 years earlier, 5 years earlier, so it's... The CGI still exists, but it's just things are just touched up with CGI, and it's all practical. So it's a little bit better than like Gremlins, where Gremlins is like all practical. CGI basically didn't exist in the mid 80s. Fast forward 10 years from that, say around 94, 93, 94, they do this. They use a little bit of CGI, but for the most part, by and large, it's practical. And then we have things to laugh at that look cheesy, but at least it's practical, and the consistency goes the other way, I guess.
That's what I'm talking about.
My point.
I think that there are better versions of this movie. I think the story is also a problem. Like it's kind of like, there's a lot of fluff around the bits that push the story forward, but there's also enough investment that you have. But it also falls kind of victim to movie makers like Joe Dante kind of like always going back to the same well of like, well, this works, so let's do it again, but we'll just dress it up differently, which I don't think is a problem necessarily, as long as you can make it feel fresh. But like we were saying
as
before,
long as
Jason,
you dress it up differently enough.
It is exactly Gremlins. Like they were recreating Gremlins for a new generation, which movie making companies, cartoon companies, they've been doing it for years. Every fucking 5 years there's a new Batman cartoon. Every 5 years is a new Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Life recreates itself too. Your children are just a rerun of you. That's just life.
Kalen, so dark over here.
I don't know if it's dark. I think it's philosophical.
He called children reruns. That's dark.
They're closer to clones. I agree, though, Kalen. It is. We have 6 ideas. Even in storytelling, there's like 5 storytelling archetypes.
Yeah, 5 or 6 different types of stories.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think about this often because I'm like, what if I just like put a bunch of colors on the screen and just made it like a weird 70s psychedelic, like just an hour and a half of just. And somebody would still be able to analyze and be like, this is actually psyche versus environment or whatever.
That really charted high in the 1965 to 1968 era. It really influenced the Flower Brigade. I don't know if you're familiar with the Flower Brigade, but they had a huge influence on the Poo Poo Boys and their like 71 to 73 era. They basically took poo poo and they turned it into flower beds.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean like style. I mean like, in storytelling how there's like person versus person versus environment, and like environment versus environment. You know what I mean? Like we only know how to write about 6 kinds of stories as human beings.
There's 7 stories that we all revolve around, but like within those 7 stories, branching outwards, you can tell infinite tales, right? Like that's the point of storytelling.
A little bit of this one, this. Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, it's
like
not
chess,
even that way, but it just kind of goes in different directions.
In chess, you have what, 12 pieces or whatever it is, but like how many infinite moves do you have?
I don't know.
20
I'm
pieces?
Not a chess
Was it 20
master.
pieces? Anyway,
Kalen, why are you asking us questions about chess? If you're gonna bring up chess, then you should know about chess.
Because I don't know shit about
That's not
chess.
how this works. I know little bits of different things, not a lot of one thing, which can be a flaw, but sometimes can be
I think there's 24 pieces in chess. Okay, I don't know. What was your point about chess then that you want to make?
No, because you were talking about how you said there's like 7 types of stories or whatever, but you could like infinitely make all kinds of stories, taking little different pieces and mix and matching. And I was relating it to chess where there's infinite moves.
I understand what you were doing, but then you asked me how many pieces are in a chessboard.
Wait, hold on. How did we get here?
We were talking about like how rehashing of tale, like Joe Dante is taking the same story.
But that's what it was.
Okay, but my point was that this is too close to Gremlins for it to feel like something fresh, right? A kid finds a monster, a Gorgonite, and then there's another monster, Chip Hazard, who is evil and wants to kill that one.
This one would be called the exact same story. Overcoming the Monster from the 7 plots.
Okay, well, you thought it was 6 plots, so fuck you.
Fuck me.
Actually, I think he thought it was 5. I said it was 6.
Yeah.
And I said it was 7, the correct number.
Because I'm right.
Well, what the fuck am I talking about with the person versus person versus environment?
He rubs elbows with Joe. Joe doesn't like how loud he's being, but he's down. Gives him the toys.
Whoa. Are we going back to the plot? Listen, we've lost the plot of this point. We're all over the
place.
I was just waiting for you guys to get at me to take control, so I thought I'd do it before you told me to do it.
No, you have to take the initiative as the host, Kalen. You don't wait for us.
We've run too far at this point. We can't run back to Joe at the store.
Tangents are fine. Tangents are that's what the viewers want.
Okay, then let me do you a favor. They open the toys. The little brother wants the toys. They leave. Then the toys fight each other in the store, destroy the store. The next day they go into the store is destroyed. The dad comes back and throws the fact that he got thrown out of 2 schools in his face and is like, you can't fucking take care of shit. But they had done a really good job of cleaning the store up, except for one detail: the mast of the
mast
breaks.
I saw it when they were there. I could see the little crack in the middle.
And you know who else saw it, Kalen? The dad.
The dad.
Yeah.
It's the same ship from the end too.
Stuart Albert after.
Yes, it is. I was the same ship from the end, Jason. It's called set up and payoff.
I know, set up and payoff, but also when that was happening towards at the end, I was like, is he gonna
just not fall?
Hold on, is he just gonna Viking funeral these fucking toys because he doesn't want to deal with them?
Yeah, he pulls out a flaming bow and arrow and
we're alive. Yeah. But also, he just throws them in a river. He's like, okay, bye.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what? They're gonna hit some rapids and then all fall and get water damaged,
or they're gonna just float down to the next town and be like, oh, he was right. Yeah. It's just a thing, and then another thing, and then another thing. Infinitely.
It's another toy store. They go into the garbage lot behind another toy store, and there's another ship hazard. I escaped before they recalled me, Gorgonite scum. That would be kind of fun though if they did make a sequel and there was a weird escaped chip hazard that became super intelligent. No, actually, that would be terrible. They should never make sequels to this.
It would be straight to DVD because DVDs are relatively.
It would be eventually
if
all
they made
CGI.
It great. It would be great.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. If they made it great, it would be great.
They never made sequels great. They still don't really make sequels great. They make movie universes great.
Instead of making a new story that's just tied into the previous one.
Well, here's the thing about it, Kalen. They make a bunch of money off the first movie, right? And they have another script, right? So all the things are in place to just do it again.
Like a skeleton.
But then they're like, we know we're gonna make less money off this next movie, so we have to spend less movie to make the movie, and then that's why you get a sequel.
You need to spend money to make money.
Yeah, that's why the MCU movies are so good, because each movie is like,
oh no, he just tuned out. We just lost the viewer. We just lost the co-host.
We have the same amount of viewers though. We just lost a co-host.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, viewers. You guys are the best. Steven, come back, please. Where we leave off. So they get the toys, they wreak havoc, they're fighting with them or whatever. He calls into the company, hey, your toys are fucked up. Oh, okay, well, you have a great day, ma'am. I'm not a man. And but that leads to Irwin, or like they hear that voicemail. Irwin tells Larry or whatever. They go check up on it, countersuit, 1 word or 2. You tell me, or maybe get a dictionary. Do you have a dictionary?
Do I have a dictionary?
Yeah,
I do. What do you want me to grab my dictionary for? What reason?
Is countersuit 1 word or 2?
Countersue or countersuit?
It's 2 words.
It's 2, and also the internet is a dictionary that exists.
I just googled it, and I didn't have to press enter, and it told me.
Yeah, they also answer the question in the movie.
He says it's 2 words, and then blah 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 blah.
It's 2 words, Larry.
So they check up on them, and then the commandos are fighting them. There's a huge little house war.
Huge
little house soldiers. That's what the sequel is going to be called.
So there's one scene / line or whatever that always, like when I was a kid, like me and my brother used to say it to each other all the time, and then watching it again, like I kind of said it along with it. And like it's when the dad comes, I was like, "What are you packing?" And then the toy's like, "Packing you." You guys didn't like it.
I'm glad you and your brother had that moment together.
Exactly.
I do remember that movie trailer moment as well. It was also in the movie, but I remember it from the trailer, seeing it being like, oh, they're gonna attack humans as well. I also liked that, like when they name out the amount of targets later, that they're no longer just trying to kill the Gorgonites, they're trying to kill the humans as well. It's like they are Gorgonite sympathizers.
That means they're going against their programming. That means they're not like real robots or something. Can't robots not?
No, they're not going against their programming. Well, their programming is to destroy the Gorgonites.
Isaac Asimov is the only Isaac Asimov.
So the humans joined the clan.
Well, if you program into a computer that it cannot harm humans, it could potentially find ways out of that. But I think the flaw in this is they did not put that in the programming. They didn't specify that you can't kill humans. They just said kill the Gorgonites.
They ordered special chips from a military distributor where the person who built the chip was a fucking mad scientist.
So it's probably
maybe the best scene in the entire movie. Like, it's probably the best scene.
Him freaking out and sneezing into his helmet, and then later when they turn all the Barbies into murder machines.
A chip that's so perfect, so incredibly finitely perfect.
And he's like walking slower and slower towards them, and they're both like backing up. That it can learn. Like, even their masks are like right next to each other. It's so good. It's like it is like a mad scientist moment where you're like, oh my god, this guy's lost his fucking mind. And then he caps the scene by sneezing inside of his own helmet, which is also very funny.
Also, how good are those masks? It's not one piece, it's two pieces. One goes over the front.
Kalen, it's not COVID. It's a fucking movie about toys that fight each other. Don't worry about it.
So I wrote down, I was like, why do the toys know to fight each other? Are they imbued with the spirit of the creators? I thought it was just a generic chip in them to power them. Is it ghosts?
Touche.
No, they probably did some programming, because remember, he's like, it's a problem with your software.
Throughout the movie, we kind of learned that the David Cross character is a programmer, and he programs the toys, both sides, for better or for worse.
In that Picardo scene, he's like, it turned out better than you thought it could ever be, right? And they're like, well, there's a problem. He's like, if there's a problem, it's a problem with your software. He's like, there's not a problem with the software. He's like, no, you're a piece of shit, not me. So, which is like also weirdly like world building within the world. It's like a necessary scene, but if they didn't have that scene either, it wouldn't have changed the movie.
It would have just made less sense, I think.
It's like they needed it in there, but it's also, in my opinion, I think the funniest and best scene like in the movie. I think it's great.
Like a comedic, comedic relief or whatever.
It's deadly serious though. It like sets the stakes higher, because like you now understand why the commandos are doing what they're doing, because they're learning and they're able. Because it cuts from that to them being like, all right, how can we turn these weapons of non-destruction into weapons of entire destruction? You're like, oh my god, they're learning.
What point of the movie are we at?
They're fighting at the home. They're having the home world. They're having the home war.
Yeah, we're kind of scrambling backwards to things we missed, but
we're also just bouncing around.
I just wanted to point out that when Alan calls the company to be like, there's a problem with your toys, Sherry O'Terry answers the phone from SNL.
Yeah.
And
isn't that what I came back to?
I thought that was
I'm not a man.
I thought that was interesting, because at this time, people like Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan, Tim Meadows, Phil Hartman had just left SNL a few years earlier. They were popping up in they were popping up in he's clearly still alive. Maybe was he dead by the time this movie actually came out?
He died. No, he died before this movie was released.
Oh, okay.
He died between.
Wow.
What did he die of?
A gunshot to the head.
Yeah.
Damn. Who did he piss off?
Not his wife, who then gunshotted her own head. It was a murder suey. So Sherry O'Terry was great, but I've always liked her a lot, but she never really popped off. I think that she could have been a Kristen Wiig. But
what's tertiary?
Even in this one tiny scene, she's very funny.
She's very funny.
Yeah, she's basically playing a robot on a phone, and then he's like, "Can you just transfer me to a machine?" Even though she's like completely acting like a machine. Like, it's pretty funny.
Which is like also it's a subdue your expectation moment, because it's like you never want to just be bounced around from machine to machine.
But it's also funny because he gets transferred to a machine, and you can hear the machine, and it's saying everything that she's saying in the exact same cadence that she was saying. Like, it's pretty funny.
I also wanted to talk quickly about the non-score soundtrack in this, or the non 80s action movie pangs of music.
Here, let me do it again.
It's really weird. Like You're giving it too much melodic credit because it's really like weird. It sounds really weird when they do
it's
it.
like a weird sort of like, it's like somebody flexing on the string of a guitar, but then they have like below it, right? Like drums and stuff below
almost
it,
like
military drums and shit.
Almost like Twin Peaksy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the soundtrack of this movie is all over the place. The first song that I heard and I actually looked up was "Love Is a Battlefield," but like a hip hop version.
Oh yeah.
And it's Queen Latifah does like a rap at the beginning, and then Pat Benatar just sings the whole song over like a more like upbeat beat. Also, we talked about it, but Led Zeppelin is in this. Wannabe is during
the Led Zeppelin
Nice
is
girl!
appropriate because they hit the stereo. It's the Barbie moment where she's like, I listen to Led Zeppelin.
Right.
They hit her stereo, and then they're like wrapping her up and being like, did I overpluck my eyebrows? And like all the crazy shit, which is like the best scene in the movie, I think.
Wannabe by the Spice Girls happens towards the end when I think that and then they play Flight of the Valkyries, but I think they're going to play Flight of the Valkyries, but it's Wannabe. But the thing that
any Ava Maria in this?
No, but the thing that made me go, what the hell? This is definitely a kids movie, because kids movies do this thing where they'll isolate like one word from a song and not focus on the rest of the music. And when the army dudes are coming out ready for war and then they're playing War, What Is It Good For? I'm like, is this a direction choice, or is this the producers being like, it's got the word war in it, we got to use it? Or is it supposed to be like a double-sided?
Well, I mean, that movie for a long time was misused for a rah-rah song. Like even within the military, they would use it to get their soldiers hyped up, even though within it, if you listen to the lyrics for more than 2 seconds, it's an anti-war song. Yeah, it's an anti-war song, but it's so
pumped.
It so successfully pumps you up when you listen to it that it's like very appropriate to play it to soldiers to get them pumped up that it like did the incorrect job. That song is like a very good song. I really like it a lot, but it pumps me up, and then you listen to the lyrics for 2 seconds and you're like, I'm getting pumped up for the wrong reasons. I want to fight to this music, not make peace and not war. Hold on. They're asking me, what is it good for? It's good for punching this motherfucker in the face right now.
So yeah, I just wanted to do a little music corner. I don't hyper focus on soundtracks for movies, but this one was so like just all over the place that they
played a lot of the quintessential like songs that are played in war films, right? Just to emphasize the idiocy of the
they
felt
Commando Elite
to the scene. Like a lot of the music choices, like some music choices are kind of like subliminal with how they connect, or it's more so the melody or the actual beat or tune or whatever. But this music selection felt like very literal to like what was happening.
Spice Girls was
like watching
Sucker
Punch or whatever.
Yeah, Spice Girls
fucking lyric is just what they're doing.
Now the woman is taking out her sword and chopping the giant ninja robot.
Well, ask Alice, as she's 10 feet tall, and she like grows 10 feet tall. She's growing just as the lyric told her to.
This movie was missing CCR and All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix, though, which are a quintessential band and a quintessential song from '60s. That's usually,
I love CCR.
That's usually when they're in Vietnam. You hear some folks.
Creedence Clearwater for any of you younger crowds out there.
Clearwater.
Do you
Revival.
guys know when?
Damn it! Did I say it wrong?
No, you just didn't say Revival.
You guys know when Led Zeppelin like put their kibosh on putting their movies or their songs in movies?
I thought it was like forever.
I thought they didn't like their music in movies. This seems like a weird choice to okay. Do you know what I'm saying?
But this is later, like this is the late '90s, where Robert Plant might have been.
But I remember when
the music.
I remember when School of Rock was made, which granted, School of Rock was a
good movie.
Was a far lower budgeted movie than this was. So it might have been that they were able to just be like, hey, here's like $1 million for it. And they would have been like, all right, fine.
It could have been that they didn't want it in commercials, because Led Zeppelin is in a lot of movies, right?
I just told you the story of School of Rock, but I didn't finish it. Jack Black made a plea. Like they were filming the end scene of that movie where they had a whole stadium full of people and they were playing music and they were playing the end tune, but it wasn't even them playing it properly with all the cameras. It was him and all the kids. And then he turned around and he had a camera and he picked it up and he pointed at the audience and he pointed at all the kids and he like pleaded to Led Zeppelin to let them use I come from the land of the ice and snow where
Black Sheep, I think, or something.
I don't remember
No,
what it's called. But
Immigrant Song.
Immigrant Song. But they wanted that song for the movie, but they couldn't afford to pay for it or whatever. So they filmed that and sent it to them specifically to be like, can we use this, please? And they allowed it, and the song is in the movie.
I think there's another side of it.
I know, but I always think to that whenever I hear the Led Zeppelin, because they were famously hard to get music for movies, and not just commercials, but movies.
Well, you know what? It sounds like they're probably good stand-up people that don't want to sell their souls.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
I think
it's in this
opposite.
movie.
I think
it's in this fucking movie.
If you back the Brinks truck up to their castle in London, and pour more money than they've ever seen, so they can
lads.
So you're saying they only sell their
souls? Why are you at the front of the castle? This is where the drawbridge is. The drawbridge for the loading docks at the back.
where we put the money.
It's fucking Dick Miller, and he's like, I don't know where to fucking park on this fucking plot of land.
But
Dick
I think
Miller,
that
the driver in the movie.
Yeah. I think that there is a certain point where Robert Plant will say, oh, yes, I will take $45 million to use a 13-second excerpt of my very famous song. You don't hear a lot of different Led Zeppelin songs either. It's something that you notice.
You're not gaining the rights to the whole song. Yeah.
No. Like even in Thor, they only use Immigrant Song, I'm pretty sure. And then if you watch Love and Thunder, you have like the whole catalog of, I don't want to spoil, but
no, let's save it for later.
Yeah, I don't want to say because it's awesome. The soundtrack for Love and Thunder was fucking extremely well done in the same way Immigrant
It was
Song
good,
was
but
used.
also easier to get, I think.
Much easier to get.
Yeah.
So much easier to get.
Because of that Disney money.
Yeah.
No, not even the Disney money, but just like the band. The band is probably like, yeah.
Was it Immigrant
We all
Song?
need hair plugs, please.
Was it Immigrant Song in this one too?
No, it was fuck. No, it's not Immigrant Song.
You look it up. I'm gonna tell a story right quick.
Mm-hmm.
So the Commando Elite are attacking the house, and then the mom, Alan's mom, grabs the tennis racket.
I kind of like this though. I like it though. I like it.
And then so they're in the living room.
Oh, it's communication breakdown.
Oh well. Yeah, we were gonna come to that. Anyways, she's in the living room. She asked
the song.
if it's the other mom.
That's what the song
Bill.
is called. Kalen's like, no, it's not though. We're not having a communication breakdown, are we?
No, I'm trying to tell you this funny fucking scene that I like.
Go ahead.
She asks, I think it's the other mom. She asked the other mom, it might be Phil, to move. I think it's a couch. I think she asked them to move a couch, and she's like, be careful with it.
Yeah,
and then she flips
the
over the fucking coffee table like no one's fucking business. That shit I'm not sure how many people caught that, but that was like,
I did.
That felt like, yeah.
She's like, be careful with the couch, but then she like one hand like tosses the fucking coffee table, which I'm like, she probably hated that coffee table. She's like, I want a new one anyway.
Yeah.
I like the suburbanness of it. I know, Jason, you want to get out of here, but
no. I was just gonna say, are we at the final battle? Because I would like.
We
to
are
not
in the
go
final
over.
battle.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're getting close.
I did want to mention the one part where Kirsten Dunst is smashing the Barbie dolls with her baton, and she starts to like go like fucking Hulk mode on it and seemingly enjoy it, but like there's one line that also made me giggle really hard and for a long time, which is Sarah Michelle Gellar's voice like pitched up over all the other dolls screaming for their lives, saying, look out, she's got a baton. Like, clearly she's like running away.
like a baton is like the scariest thing to a Barbie doll. That's funny.
Also,
man.
no
That's
movie
funny.
title shout out. I was sad.
Yeah, well, they truly are small soldiers after all. Like, who's gonna say that?
No, I'm just saying. I gotta
Voice actor who did Chip Hazard's voice.
It's a segment. Oh, speaking of segments, what was the thing that you were saying earlier about becoming toys or something? What were you saying? You had a
which
segment
toy?
earlier.
Which toy?
Oh, which
would we
of
be?
the Gorgonites or maybe we should do like both the soldiers and the Gorgonites.
Pick one of each.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down
That'd
with
be
that.
kind of fun.
I'm down with
yeah.
that.
Oh, also
Okay,
we should talk
who's
about the
first?
fact that the Gorgonites smartly went underneath that satellite dish. I don't know if they did that
Okay,
on
we'll
purpose or it
finish.
was
We'll finish
accidental.
the
but-
summary and then we'll do that segment.
Finish how the movie ends, because they have a giant battle that goes on and on and on and on and on and on
Right.
and on and on and on and on and on and on.
There's this is where it kind of lull, like not to say lulls, because it's action every time, but it's like it's just kind of like a lot of different things. Where
the most fun
could have
part
been
about that scene is trying to figure out what the commandos are using as weapons. Where you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are they using?
They went Mad
like,
Max,
what is that?
They went Mad Max Fury Road.
They have like a
on
fucking
their-
corn cob,
That's
like
true.
spike shooter. Like, it's
I
kinda
think
cool.
that ironically it was an ad for using the toys in the household setting or your backyard setting, so you could see all the different ways you could.
It was like
set-
a weird sort of like almost Honey I Shrunk the Kids moment, but like much bigger, kind of where you're like,
But, like,
they're
those,
using
like-
corn cob things as like a weapon, like
Those like
they
early
shoot it as,
90s
like-
commercials for like GI Joe, where you have this elaborate setup and then you like
Do you guys
a
use
tank
those
drives
corn on the
th- I'm
cob
talking.
pokers?
I'm talking.
Sorry.
A tank drives through like a thing and everything falls down,
Yeah. But I mean,
My
like,
question is not going to make sense after your statement.
Well, you gotta
yes,
wait- you
Kaylin,
gotta-
we've all used corn cob holders. All of us have used corn
All
cob
of you,
holders.
you don't just fucking hold the corn on the cob.
If
I'm
the
not
corn
saying that we
cob-
use them every time. I'm
Yeah.
saying we've used them in our lives.
We've used them before. If the corn, if a plate comes and the corn already has the
Oh,
holders,
let me ask
I'm
you
gonna
this.
use the
Do you
holders.
guys have corn on the cob?
You gotta let me finish, or I'm gonna quit this podcast. That's it.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to interrupt. I was trying to add.
If I'm talking, you're
Yeah.
not adding. You're just neither of us can
But
be
the
heard.
part that I'm adding doesn't
Guys, don't
add on
argue.
to
It makes
the
me
part
feel
that
like
you're
a
talking
weird
about.
child. Like you're my parents and I have to get in between you.
I'm frustrated. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go on. If the corn on the cob pokers present themselves, you will use them.
Correct.
Yeah, and then Kaylin's question was, do you own them? No, I don't own them. I don't know why I would ever buy those.
You know what I bought?
What?
One of those milk bag slicer openers. It's like
Hey,
a little...
scissors exist. You can't stab a scissors into the end of a corn cob and be like,
No,
like
but
scissors are a
have you ever
practical
used
thing to
scissors
own.
sometimes where they don't cut anymore. This thing is like a little. It's like this, and you put the bag here.
I
and
know
the
what it
razor
is.
thing-
Often it has a magnet and you put it on your fridge. I've seen them. I just don't understand why you need one.
So it turns out the Gorgons won. They
The
turned on
Gorgonites.
all of the electronics. Oh, this tree is beautiful. That's just some of your, what do you call it again? Your hippie dip? No, not hippie dippy. Your funky.
Your
I can't remember
techno
what you call it.
garbage, techno
Yeah.
garbage. Your world is going to be surrounded by techno garbage.
You're
blah,
gonna
blah,
give
blah,
us
blah, blah.
radiation. That
Yeah.
hasn't been proven.
No.
So they turn on all the shit. Fucking Alan's like, I can't remember what he says, but he puts him down between the two transformers or whatever.
I gotta say though that the fight at the end in the transformer it's pretty good, man. Like it's like a good little like end of an action movie. Like it feels like GoldenEye almost, where Chip Hazard is like, and he's like stabbing his hands and
The
like,
little knife.
yeah, he's like, which I'm pretty sure they made those knives out of like the dad's woodworking tools. Like if you've ever used woodworking tools, there's like little blades you can put into like a serrated little like wood thing, and like they taped the ends off and like they're using them the whole movie, and I'm like, wow, that's attention to detail. Anyway, Kaylin, continue.
Well, according to Jason's face, I need to end things.
He's
grabs Chip Hazard and he sticks him in the
According to those
transformer, and
eyebrow
then they
raises,
send off an
that
EMP,
an acknowledgement.
which is set up at the beginning of the movie. The EMP has been the whole crux of them being destroyed, and they're scared the Gorgonites are going to get EMP'd as well. And then he sticks Chip Hazard in there instead of the wrench, which he had originally planned to stick in there. He sticks Chip himself, which sets off the EMP, destroying all of the Commando Elite that Chip Hazard has activated from all the subsequent toy stores around.
The really good chips.
And the next day you have the scene where the billionaire is giving out money to everybody, and like everyone's like, well, I don't think you'll be able to pay off my emotional damage, and he like pulls out a check and he's like, well, maybe you can.
Which was a very funny moment.
That moment makes you
very Simpsons.
Yeah, and you're like, your brain kind of like is like,
Yeah,
I want to know how much
job.
money each of these checks are. Like, did he give the same amount to everybody or a different amount depending?
I would wonder about that too. I bet they were different amounts. Do you guys want to guesstimate, or should we just keep going and finish it?
Probably like $1 million.
I assume a lot. Yeah, over $1 million per check.
What is this, 98?
Yeah, $1 million is a lot of money. Survivor doesn't even exist yet.
Where he's like, how would you get that truck that says Globotech on it out of here? And he's like, well, I got some back pain, Dick Miller. Oh, geez, I don't know. Okay, I'll right away, sir. And he like leaves immediately.
If you gave them all $1 million, I'd be pissed if I were the other people with the houses.
Well, I mean, all the neighbors were there. I would have ran up and been like, can I get some for my trash cans that got dented?
Also, those houses were probably like
$5,000.
those houses were probably like $80,000 because times were
man.
different.
Those houses are probably like $1 million right now.
Probably more. Yeah.
All right. So, the end of the movie, Alan finds.
It would have been a hell of a commercial, which it was. It's like a satire on itself, or whatever, right?
Yes, Joe Dante is very good at satirizing himself, which is like his whole deal. That's what at the end of Gremlins 2, he's like, you know what I see on this guy? Suction cups in windows. And he's like literally selling the toy of Gizmo to you at the end of the movie. Like he does that all the time, which is like either the sign of a money obsessed fool or he's making a commentary on it. But like at the end of the day, he's just doing
Why not both?
I often wonder if people approach him being like, how can we sell this as a movie? And he's like, I got a couple of ideas.
But
anyway,
it turns out the Gorgonites hid under the satellite dish. Big Phil's fucking funky techno crap satellite dish saved the Gorgonites, and then paired with the father's old school wooden boat, drifted off into the horizon of a lake.
Yeah.
No, it was a river. It just floated down.
Well, rivers often run to lakes. So
yeah, true.
I wonder if, when he's like, greetings, I am Archer. Greetings, I am Archer. Greetings, I am, and he like glitches like that. If they had like played that off for like maybe like 12 more seconds, I would have been in fucking tears. Like if they had him like silence for 30 seconds or something while Alan gets like truly upset, because you never see Alan get like upset or anything really, other than emotions of being like, damn it, I'm a 13-year-old bitch. Like that's his whole thing throughout the movie. Where it's like if he showed genuine care for Archer in that moment, I probably would have cried. Like I probably would have been actually sad, being like, oh, the Gorgonites are dead and they were so nice, I guess. But they didn't do it. They went for the quick, like, damn it, you didn't survive. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me the Commandos are dead? And I was like, okay, well, fuck.
And then they all smoked weed and blood together.
Yeah, exactly. It's James Franco is holding Archer. He's like, Archer, you're alive? How about we get my dad's boat? It's not a real boat. It's like a tiny boat. But we can get you guys a transport out of here.
Voiced by Seth Green.
Greetings, I am Archer.
I like that.
I said
I
Seth
gotta
Green
mention
by
one thing.
accident.
I gotta mention one thing.
Emissary of the Gorgonites.
The poster / where am I at? / cover. Chip is pointing at you. But what he's really doing and what was edited out and what you can see on the cardboard standout that they load into the store, he's holding a gun and aiming at you sideways like a gangster.
Oh my god.
It's pretty
Well, I'm
hardcore.
glad he's just pointing at me.
His
Why
hand
didn't
is
they?
even like
Why didn't they just make his thumb underneath? They're just like, no, just get rid of the gun. We don't
His
have the
fi-
budget to
his
make
finger-
the thumb go like that.
his finger is like almost cocking a.
It is.
Yeah.
It does look like he's holding a gun. You're right, Kaylin. That's fucking crazy.
No, I watched the thing.
No,
I
I'm
read
saying
some
it's
stuff.
crazy, as in like it's crazy they didn't just remake the whole hand instead of just getting rid of the gun and like painting in the details, being like, look, now he's not holding a gun, he's just pointing
Hey, it's not
weirdly
there
with his
anymore.
hand.
PG-13,
open like
Now he's
bam.
holding a walkie-talkie.
this. He's holding an invisible gun. Okay, let's
Which brings us
quickly
to the end.
let's quickly do the who are we thing because I think it would be funny.
Yes.
Just quickly.
Segment. Yes, let's do it.
All right, we have to choose it for each other, right?
Is that, you know what? It's your segment. You pick the rules.
Oh, okay. So we pick it for each other. We're gonna do it for Gorgonites and for soldiers. I guess I
I need to get the list in front of me.
first. Well, I have them in my brain. Jason, for the Gorgonites, I almost want to say Insaniac, but I think I'm going to go with the guy who gets horribly destroyed and then put back with a radio in his brain. He has the hammer. Specifically because I was going to say Insaniac because when you go on a tangent sometimes and you really want to battle off a lot of things, it is like a tornado where I'm like, I can't find an area to penetrate. Or I'm like, wait, no, I have a thing to, and you're like, what is it, laundry day? At the end, and you're like, oh, fuck. But I feel like it's more like switching radio stations, which is what he has. He has a radio station in his head, right? He's rebuilt with a radio. So it's like sometimes you'll be like, so the reason that this is, and it's like, is because of this thing. And then my mother said this to me one time. And then it like goes back and forth. But it still always ends up in the point that I need. So you're the Frankenstein robot. I hope that's not offensive.
No, I get that.
It's a critique, but it's not, because it's also one of the positives about you. And then when it comes to the Commando Elite is going to be hard because like they all kind of
all the same,
and they all suck. No, they're not all the same. They all suck in their own.
They have a
individual way.
specialty, but they're all the same in the sense that
I think that you would be Nick Nitro because you would probably come in with a lot of heat and you would probably say something punny as you were trying to get somebody. And even if they fucked you up, you'd come up with a new pun. And then even as you're dying, you're still like, oh God, can somebody give me a hand or a leg? Like as you're running away with no legs. But when he picks him up and he's like, you've met your match, and he's holding a match and the guy blows the match out, I was like, ugh, pun joke. So you're Nick Nitro in Frankenstein, whose name is something weird. He has like a regular name, but I can't remember.
Roblicon or something like that.
Yeah,
Troblicon.
Troglicon or something, yeah. So, and Kaylin, you as the Gorgonites are probably the guy with the hammer rock hand. Sanctuary.
Well, seems
Yo, shout out to Hunchback with a Notre Dame.
And
Freakenstein.
his name's Freakenstein? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's kind of rude. I think the hammer guy is named like Punch It or something, or like Punch. No, Punch It's the big guy.
Which meat hook?
Slam
Slam
Fist.
Fist. Slam
Oh
Fist.
yeah, Slam Fist.
Yeah. I think you're Slam Fist. Slam Fist always has a gram or a grain of wisdom in the things that he says, but they're often kind of like cocooned by something that you're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And then eventually you see that little gram of like, oh, wisdom. There's wisdom inside that. I didn't say stupid. You said stupid. I said, what the fuck? And then when it comes to the soldiers, you seem like a Butch Bazooka kind of guy. Like you would be the guy who'd be like, slingshot me at that break. I bet I could do it. All right.
Damn, that's good. I like that.
There we go. That's mine.
Jason, you want to go next? You want me to go?
Yeah, I would say Steve is probably Archer because you're the most stoic out of us.
Oh.
And then I keep gravitating to like Static because you do voiceover work. So
Right.
you're always on the ones and twos.
Link Static? Yeah.
And then Kalen is Insaniac for sure. And because you're all over the place. And then I'm gonna say also Butch Meat Hook because he's the one that's like, I'm just gonna keep going.
Word. I agree with the Nick Nitro for you, Jason. I don't know why. It's just for some reason that's what I gravitated to when I thought of you. For Gorgonite.
Is anyone gonna get Oculus, the weird giant eyeball?
Oculus is a hard one. Like, I don't think I could give it to anyone because, like,
because you've got
they're
suction cups
curious.
for fingers, and
He literally just bounces around. Also, oh no, the eye guy. Yeah, I don't know. You're always looking.
Steve, you might get it from me. We'll find out. Wait till I get to you.
oh no, because you're a pervert with a big eyes. Your eyes are so big, sometimes I think they're one eye.
Matt, yeah, the new instead of I was about to like say like a stupid old school like insult, but then I was like, man, why the fuck people insult each other? Why don't you guys just like, you're good at this, can you help me with this? I'm good at this, can I help you with it?
Right. I mean, I think that's fine if you want to peg a Gorgonite onto Jason that you think it's helpful for.
No, I was just talking in general.
I think mine was good. It was an astute version of what Jason is. He can switch from channel to channel quite easily, just like a radio, which is cool. And I bet you Jason could go, I'm a robot who looks like this pretty easily.
What, you gave him Provocon and Nick Nitro?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not opposed to those. I think it's maybe the voice and also like the technicality or whatever, but like Link Static, like Jay said, like when Link Static, and then now I can't think of anything other than Ocula for you, only because like we kind of like put focus on it or whatever.
Yeah. I never talk, and I have long, gangly limbs with suction cups at the end of each extremity. I walk around my apartment. That's what it sounds like, barefoot. I have special socks.
The only sounds you make are when you're walking around with your suction cup hands and when your eye blinks.
He's trying to make noises.
Did you guys not hear that?
Yeah, you can do it without your thumb.
What are you doing? Your mouth?
Yeah. All right. This is no, we're not. I charge for this, Jason. Come on.
All right.
Bring us up.
All right. Here I come.
Put this man straight.
I am the host of today's episode, and we have reached the end of this week's Small Soldiers, where your toys come to life. You've already checked it out because you're here now listening to us say the ending. And for Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
Wait.
We have to say our final thoughts.
We gotta give ratings. Shit, we gotta give ratings.
He turned his camera off. He got too excited.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Do we have to do ratings? Is that what I missed?
Yeah, we got to do the ratings.
Okay. Jason, can you, or sorry, I don't know why I'm pointing because who knows how this is going to show up. Hey, Jason, can you go tell us your ratings, please?
Unfortunately, I didn't rate this movie very highly. I wanted to like this, and there are elements of the movie I enjoyed. Unfortunately, the bad CGI, the pacing, some of the storyline pacing stuff, I didn't really like the lulls where like the kids were interacting with each other for so long. It just was like could have focused less on like the non-love story, I think. I found myself bored a lot in this movie, especially like I can only take so much of like just things happening that aren't really related. It's just action for kids. It's toys fighting each other like that with no real stakes. The stakes are, at the beginning and the end of the fight. The middle part where they're just doing things, that doesn't do a lot for me. That said, the cast is excellent. But they were giving like kids movie performances too. So like I guess that says something about your range, but also like I thought that Tommy Lee Jones's performance was dog shit. I thought it was so fucking bad and so disjointed from
the. I mean, he wasn't on set.
No, there's no way he was on set. But it does feel like a lot of the other vocal
they did do the voiceovers after all of the.
He's like, "What do you want me to say?" Dan Hut. All right.
Yeah. It felt like a lot of the other vocal performances, like the people wanted to be there. His just felt like he just banged off a lot of lines. And if there's the things that we know about him from more kid-oriented movies, specifically like Batman Forever, where he didn't want to be there, he pulled Jim Carrey in close and was like, "I despise you, boy," or whatever.
I think he said, "I cannot abide by your buffoonery,"
or something like that. Weird,
or tomfoolery, like something like that.
Some very Tommy Lee Jones thing to say. Yeah. I got it. It was a paycheck, but there were some things in this movie that really felt like big budget, low effort. That said, yeah, I said Tommy Lee Jones barely showed up for his voiceover role. Anything for a buck though. I give it a 2.4 out of 5, which I think is generous. I did have some fun. I did have some fun with this movie, but this movie I would rather have just watched when I was 13, maybe not revisited, because the memory of the movie might have been better for me. It makes sense for you guys. You loved it because you have this like nostalgic connection to it.
I loved it.
Okay, but you have this nostalgia connection to it. There were things I loved about it, but there was a lot of chore involved, and that's going to bring a rating down for me, unfortunately.
That's a low rating though. That's like I wouldn't recommend this to my fucking worst enemy.
Well, no, it's not 8 out of 5. It's like it's below 50%, but it's like,
yeah, that's low.
I would recommend it to
anything below 50 is I don't like. 50 is tolerable. Above 50 is like. Below 50 is don't like.
I didn't like this movie.
Which is fair. We're all entitled to our opinions, Caitlin. We can't all win the war. And just remember that everything else is a toy.
Which segues. Man, I really got to stop trying to figure out where you guys are.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you to stop doing that since we started a long time
a year ago.
I'm going straight on. Steven, could you please enlighten us with your final thoughts and rating?
Also, if you want to know where we are, look at the chat.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, right, yeah. So I guess his pointing is correct for me, at least. So yeah, I was kind of worried to go into this because I haven't seen it in so many years, and I had watched it so many times as a kid, and I was very invested in the world of the small soldiers while it existed in that like sort of microcosm of time, like a bubble of maybe like 3 years from when it was being advertised to when it finally died.
Right.
And I played the games and I had the toys and I really liked a lot about it, but I didn't like the things that the marketing wanted me to like about it, which was the Commando Elite. I ended up loving the Gorgons more. And I was like, what would be a cool show after this is if like the Gorgonites made like a show where they're like having to, like, even if it was like an animated show, just having to like find their way home on that boat. Like, remember like they made that 3D animated Starship Troopers show and like
Reboot 3?
Reboot 3? No. I don't know what you're talking about. It was called Rednecks or something like that, or Roughnecks. And it was just a show about
Starship Troopers, but it was a cartoon show.
Men in Black TV show.
Yeah, like a Men in Black TV show, that kind of thing. But it was just about these guys
cartoon.
And they were just trying to get home. But anyway, I watching this movie again, I was really worried because I was like, oh man, I used to really love this shit when I was a kid, and I'm so scared that I'm gonna hate it. And then watching it from beginning to end, and I found myself getting invested again in like the tale. It's like, oh man, yeah, he's found the toys. The toys have minds of their own. They want to kill these other toys, and at the end they want to also kill the humans, so the humans have to help the toys, and the toys and the humans become friends. And it's like, it's like kind of like a neat little sort of comparted story. Like you're like, this is the story and it's easy, and it's an easy thing to watch. And I would watch this with probably like little kid, like I wouldn't watch this with like a 13-year-old and be like, you're gonna love this, because they would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? If you watch it with like a 9 or 8-year-old, like your nephew or your children or something, they would probably be into it and they would probably get invested, and they'd be like, who is this Chip Hazard? He must be famous now, right? Like, did he not take over the world toy wise? Like, come on, this must be a thing that I can go to Toys R Us and get. If Toys R Us was a still thing. It's not.
Hey, did you guys ever want to try to like sneak into Toys R Us and like camp out there when they close?
No, I don't want to camp
just me
anywhere. Yeah, just you. I'd be scared the toys would come to life and kill me because of this movie.
There's a Toys R Us at Dufferin Mall, BT Dubs.
Oh,
isn't Toys R Us out of business or something?
Only, only in the States. There's still Toys R Us in Canada.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
So this one time I camped out in Toys R Us, and Chip Hazard sexually assaulted me. No, just kidding. That didn't happen. But that's why I give this movie a 1. No, I kind of like this movie in a way that
I got so surprised. What a left field.
Yeah, no, it didn't happen. I was just making that up. I think that this movie is better than most people give it credit for, but we did talk a lot about how it is just a rehash of Gremlins, and it's very clearly a Joe Dante trying to be like, okay, let's, instead of trying to go back to the Gremlins, let's remake Gremlins in a different light, in a different context, but use the exact same story. Like he has the same dad, mom characters. He has the same teen boy character. He has the same teen girl character. He doesn't change anything about the formula. He just puts the formula into the skin of small soldiers and changes the Gremlins out for small soldiers. And like, I think that's the problem, is that he should have maybe tried to do something different instead of just trying to slot a new skin
I mean, one
on
difference, the Commandos didn't come from the Gorgonites.
Well, they kind of did, because they're all the same chip.
They have the same chip, man. They're all from the same chip.
Damn it. Shit.
It's like Joe Dante took the Gremlins movie and cracked its head open and put a chip in.
Yeah, it's like he ripped off Gizmo's head and then ripped Gizmo's skin off of that head and then cracked its skull open and then pulled Gizmo's brain out and was like, what can I do with this?
Wait a second.
How can I make this exactly the same?
Do gremlin brains pulsate like hearts?
I didn't do a heart
Maybe if
noise.
there's a heart pumping blood to it.
That was him drinking scotch. Sorry, I meant to go like this. How can I make this?
I heard in my research that there is a gremlin skull in Alan's room, but I couldn't find it.
I mean, they said Gizmo like fucking 14 times in this movie, and there's Gizmo toys all over the fucking movie. So it's probably, there's probably a Gizmo skull in Alan's room somewhere. Anyway, at the end of the day, I think this movie is something that I can recommend to some people, and I cannot recommend to a lot of people. The people that I can recommend it to are people who have younger kids who are maybe getting to that point that they're going to be wanting to watch scarier movies or whatever, like something that we'd show Gremlins to, but like you're like, maybe Gremlins is too much. Show them Small Soldiers and then show them Gremlins, and that'll be like a great transitional moment for them. But like Jason was saying, the CG it doesn't hold up, and there's a lot of things they could do to fix that, but they should have had more puppets. They should have made it all puppets and only use CG when they absolutely had to. And there's so many moments where they could have just had Chip Hazard as a weird robot walking, but they didn't. And it kind of sucks that they didn't do that. So I give this movie a Gorgonite lifting its hand out to a commando saying, "Greetings, my name is Archer, emissary of the Gorgonites," and Chip Hazard slapping it out of his hand. That's my rating.
I like it. So I was a very susceptible child growing up because basically I was looking for any escape from real life, and toys were kind of like a direct escape, TV shows, movies as well. And when movies incorporated things in my real life, it definitely connected with me or attached me or whatever. It grabbed me. It tractor beamed me in. So I loved it. I loved it a lot. Looking back on it now, I see it for and I guess pretty much everything for kids is technically just commercializing either figures or dolls or whatever, little whatever apps, I guess now are the new thing.
Abortion.
But yeah, marketing. Essentially, it kind of boils down to marketing. And so there's a part of me that's like I'm at war with myself because there's the natural side of me that's oh, this is just another gear in the cog to keep money moving. But then there's another side of me that's ooh, the creativity and the things that spark my imagination and play with that part of the left and the right side of the brain, basically, I guess is what it comes down to. But Steven, I agree. The story had structure. There wasn't really any kind of lulls. It was from one thing to the next, and you wanted to know. I wanted to know what happened next. And
I
also,
agree. I think that there's fluff, but it's not too fluffy. You kind of want to know what's going on in each thing.
It builds, yeah, exactly. It builds on, and so as far as definitely if you if you kind of grew up when this if you were young when this movie came out, / I guess if you were gonna start with someone new, start with them when they're young, which is kind of the marketing motto
of Gerald
which now I feel bad saying. I feel bad
Ezra Miller.
I feel like I'm getting too deep for what I want it to be all nice and fun and fancy free. But I did enjoy it. If you've never seen it and you're older, you probably wouldn't like it very much. But if you kind of were young and saw it and it, you know what I mean? Maybe in the future they don't have toys, not physical toys. Maybe they have different kinds of toys, virtual toys. So maybe in the future those kids might not like it. But
no, you're right. There's in Fortnite and shit, there's pets and stuff you can get. That's the equivalent now. Yeah.
So I think it's worth a watch, definitely given certain circumstances. And I'm gonna give it a greedy corporate, gotta collect the whole set out of a toy line.
Sounds like you really liked it. I thought you were gonna be like that kid at the end who's my birthday's coming up. I just want clothes.
Damn, that would have been a good ending.
That would have been a good ending for Jason, but Jason gives number reviews. We give our weird, pedantic, stupid bullshit reviews.
I give this movie a Chip Hazard out of a fucking Archer while they fuck.
I give
That's
this
not what
my
I
friend
said.
coming over and playing with my toys and making them fuck each other.
Yeah.
That's what I give this.
Out of 10.
But that being said, for Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Steven and Kayla, I'm Jason.
For Jason, for Kaylin, I am Steven.
And I just got to ask you one thing.
What?
Hey, did you see this one?
I did. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it today.